Okay, next we'll talk about horizontal shifts. Okay, your graph moving left to right. It says the graph of y equals f of x plus c is the graph of y equals f of x shifted to the left c units. Okay, this time notice where your constant is being added. It's not being added to the function, but it's actually being added to the variable, to the x. So I say this is kind of in the container of the x. And also notice what your signs are. If it's added, your function is going to be moved to the left. If it is subtracted, then your function is going to be moved to the right. So it's kind of the opposite of what we would think of with the signs. Okay, but same directions. First I want to graph the function f of x equals x squared, which is my parabola. And then the transformation of this graph is h of x equals x plus 2 squared. So my constant is what I call in the container. It's in the parentheses with the x. So that means it's going to be a horizontal shift. Because it's positive, it's going to go to the left. Okay? So it's going to be shifted to the left 2 units. So instead of being at 0, 0, my vertex would be at negative 2, 0. And then I would have the same shape parabola. It's just this graph moved over 2 units to the left. Number 7, you have the standard square root function again. F of x equals the square root of x. So we know that graph looks like this. Again, the transformation here is a positive 1 being added inside the container to the x, but not just to the function, but underneath the square root sign. So with it being positive, again, that means it's going to be going to the left 1 unit. So instead of being at 0, 0, if I move this over 1 unit to the left, would be at negative 1, 0, but the same shape of the graph. Okay, so this is horizontal shift. Number 8, it says graph the function f plotted with a solid line. It's here, already given to you on the equation, the absolute value of x. So we want to graph the transformation, which is the absolute value of x minus 5. So because it's negative, that means it's going to go to the right 5 units. So instead of my vertex being at 0, 0, I'm going to go over to the right 5 and then draw my graph. Okay, which it would be off the graph a little bit, but same shape, just move to the right 5 units. Okay, number 9. It says you're graphing the standard function f of x equals x cubed. So we know again that our cube function looks like this. I want to graph the transformation x plus 2 cubed. My constant is being added to the x inside the container. So because it's positive, that means it's going to go to the left 2 units. So instead of my cross being at 0, 0, I would go to the left 2 and then draw my curve. So that would be our transformation, 2 units to the left. Number 10 actually has a vertical and a horizontal shift. Okay, you'll have something like this on your homework also. We have a constant, this negative 6, that's being added to the function. See, it's outside of the absolute value bars. And then we have a negative 6 that's inside the absolute value bars. Okay, so this 6 on the outside means that I'm going to have a vertical shift up 6 units, or no, it's negative, so that's not going to be up, it's going to be down 6. Okay, and then the 6 that's on the inside of the absolute value bars means that you're going to have a horizontal shift in the opposite direction of my sign, so to the right 6. My parent graph would just be our absolute value function, would look like this. So I need to take my vertex, and it's going to be shifted vertically down 6, down 6, and horizontally to the right 6. So I'll go over 6. That's where my new vertex would be. So my original function has been shifted down 6 and to the right 6 to get my new graph. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is reflections. And this says that the graph of y equals negative f of x is the graph of y equals f of x reflected about the x-axis. If it's a negative sign in front of the function, it just flips the graph over the x-axis. So if I look at my original function, that's going to be our parabola. And we actually have two things going on here in the equation. The negative sign means that it's going to be flipped over or reflected about the x-axis. And then the negative 2 inside the container means it's going to be shifted to the right 2 units. So let's think about if I'm at 0, 0, I'm going to shift to the right 2 and reflect. So my parabola is going to be going down, but also shifted to the right 2.